Illustration of Peter Rabbit eyeing Mr. McGregor's garden before embarking on his daring adventure. Nestled behind the white picket fence that shielded Mr. McGregor's lush vegetable patch lay a world of tantalizing promise for a rabbit named Peter. From the moment dawn's soft light filtered through the sprawling tendrils of pea vines and dewdrops shimmered like tiny pearls on lettuce leaves, Peter's whiskers twitched with excitement. He remembered his mother's stern warnings about hungry farmhands, prowling cats, and the gruff garden keeper himself, yet curiosity bubbled in his chest like a spring brook. He could almost taste the crisp sweetness of carrot tops, the pungent tang of freshly turned soil mixed with the heady fragrance of herbs. Today, he decided, he would venture beyond the safety of the burrow. With each cautious hop closer to the gate, he recalled how Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had dashed away at the slightest rustle, their tails a fluffy blur. Peter paused beside a crimson poppy, inhaling the heady scent of pollen on the morning breeze, every sense alive to the thrill and peril that awaited. Unseen birdsong echoed among the broad cabbage leaves, and a distant rooster crow reminded him of time slipping by, but fear never quite outweighed his longing for adventure. As the sky lightened, Peter Rabbit took a final breath, braced himself, and slipped through the gap in the fence. In that single heartbeat between hesitation and action, he felt the rush of freedom and the weight of consequence fused together, setting the stage for a daring journey that would test his wits, spirit, and very understanding of courage. The forbidden gate. Peter's heart pounded as he slipped through the narrow opening in Mr. McGregor's fence. Every blade of grass brushed his fur as if whispering warnings, but the sight that greeted him was more than he had dared imagine. Neat rows of emerald lettuce glistened with dew, pepper plants bore glossy green fruits, and carrots lay just beneath the soil like buried treasure. His mouth watered and he hopped forward, nose twitching madly. He nibbled a leaf, crisp and slightly sweet, and felt a rush of triumph. But victory was short-lived. A sudden rustle in the tomato vines froze him mid-chew. With swift, careful steps, he darted among the rows, ears pressed back against his head as he sought cover behind a stump. A lean gray cat slunk by, eyes glowing with hunger as it sniffed the air. Peter flattened himself against the cool earth, every muscle tense. When the cat finally gave up and padded away, Peter exhaled in relief. Yet he knew there would be no easy rest. He paused beneath a drooping zucchini leaf, catching his breath and plotting his next move. As he crept toward a row of carrots, the sound of boots on soil jolted him upright. Mr. McGregor's shadow fell across the garden, and Peter's pulse spiked. He backed away, tail flicking, heart hammering like a distant drum. Peter Rabbit flees through the carrot rows after narrowly escaping Mr. McGregor's grasp. He bolted toward the greenhouse, hoping to slip inside its dusty sanctuary. The door hung slightly ajar, offering a narrow refuge among broken pots and long-forgotten watering cans. Inside, heat and humidity enveloped him in a suffocating hug, and the smell of damp clay filled his nostrils. He scurried past overturned benches littered with sprouting seedlings and stopped behind an overturned crate, panting. Far above, glass panes reflected the sun in dazzling shards, and a sudden crash made Peter bolt for the exit. A large pot had fallen from a shelf, sending shards of ceramic crunching under his paws. He leapt through the gap in the door and emerged into bright daylight, disoriented but alive. Determined not to be caught empty-mouthed, Peter circled back toward the carrot patch under the cover of a broad cabbage leaf. He dug eagerly, pulling at the bright orange root until it came free with a satisfying tug. Juicy and sweet, it tasted like sunshine itself. He gnawed happily, heart lifted by the simple joy of discovery. But that joy was interrupted by a harsh voice. Peter Rabbit. A gloved hand swept down with startling speed. Peter jiggled free and fled on trembling legs, clutching his prize. Behind him, the garden erupted in chaos, Mr. McGregor's shouts, the clatter of pots, and the scramble of cats. Peter dashed through the rows, seeking the fence hole that led back to safety. Each hop felt like a gamble with fate, a misstep might be his last. At last, he spied the familiar gap and squeezed through, his belly heavy with stolen bounty and his heart pounding with both fear and triumph. The wild pursuit. No sooner had Peter scrambled back through the fence than he paused beneath a broad-leaved oak, chest heaving. His prize, a plump carrot, rested between his front paws. He nibbled carefully, savoring each crunch, but the taste did not soothe his nerves. Every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves made him freeze, ears swiveling for the faintest hint of pursuit. He recalled the sound of Mr. McGregor's boots on damp soil, punctuated by the gardener's angry shouts. Somewhere behind him, a cat mewed and skittered, its silhouette flickering through the brush. Hiding in a burrow beneath stacked crates, Peter Rabbit catches his breath as footsteps approach. Gathering courage, Peter hopped onward, clutching his treasured carrot like a trophy. He skirted around the garden's edge, weaving among clumps of clover and creeping thyme. The air was fragrant with herbs, rosemary's piney notes mingled with oregano's peppery warmth. He dashed under a rose bush with barbed stems and paused to listen. No footsteps, no meows, only the steady thump of his own heart. Yet he dared not linger close to danger. Venturing further into the yard, Peter encountered a makeshift scarecrow propped beside a pyramid of pumpkins. Straw hat askew, its button eyes stared blankly at him. Peter hopped past, whiskers quivering as he eyed the vibrant orange gourds. One pumpkin lay half sunken in the soil, ripe and begging to be tasted. He scampered over and took a small bite. Sweet and earthy, it was like autumn captured in a single mouthful. He leapt back as a sudden creak echoed from the farmhouse porch, a sign that someone might be watching. He tucked his find under a cabbage leaf, promising himself a reward once he reached home. Then came the flash of jeans through the back door. Mr. McGregor's son, no doubt eager to help his father, stepped outside. He crouched beside the line of tool sheds, ruffling through rakes and hoes. Peter's skin broke out in gooseflesh. The boy's careless chatter carried on the breeze. Father said nothing got away this time. Where could that rabbit be hiding? Peter darted into a narrow burrow beneath stacked crates, an animal's refuge carved in the earth. He felt at home in the cramped darkness, the musty smell of soil calming his racing pulse. Each breath filled him with resolve. He had slipped through narrow escapes before, but never with as much at stake. As sunlight slanted over the entrance, Peter prepared for one final dash back to the woods before the day's heat settled in. In that pause, his mind replayed every lesson in caution, every quick decision born of pure instinct and perseverance. When he finally burst forth, it was with fresh determination to outrun both Gardener and worry, knowing that true freedom lies in the clever balance between daring and discretion. Homeward bound, Peter's journey back through the garden was a blur of motion and music in his mind. The whistle of wind through the cabbages, the patter of his own paws, the distant crow of a rooster heralding midday. He had survived every peril so far, narrow escapes from cats, near captures by humans, and the constant thrill of forbidden fruit. Heart still pounding, he hopped toward the fence hole, where a small patch of clover swayed in welcome. He paused for a moment to look back, half expecting to see Mr. McGregor's furious glare or a cat poised to pounce. Instead, he saw only the silent rows of vegetables, glinting in the sun, as if nothing had happened at all. Triumphant and breathless, Peter Rabbit dashes back into the forest with his hard-earned bounty. Biting into his pumpkin treasure, Peter savored the sweet, autumnal juice. He thought about his mother and siblings waiting just beyond the hedgerow, their soft voices calling him home. He could almost see Flopsy and Mopsy, skipping along the earthen path, hoping to share in his daring tale. He imagined how Cottontail would nibble at his ear in excitement, eager to hear every detail. Warmth bloomed in his chest. Despite the dangers he had faced, despite the fear that had quickened his every heartbeat, Peter felt a triumphant glow. He had ventured into the unknown, overcome his own hesitations, and returned wiser for it. The garden gate appeared ahead, its white pickets bright against the dark trunks of pilgrims not vines. Peter hopped out and into the soft forest floor, where moss cushioned his landing and bird calls greeted his ears like an applause. He glanced back one last time, then disappeared into the greenery, clutching carrot and pumpkin under a leaf like precious keepsakes. By the time he reached the burrow entrance, shadows were lengthening. His mother's warm smile greeted him as he tumbled inside, covered in dirt and pride. He nestled beside his siblings and recounted every escapade, how he outsmarted the cat, escaped the garden shed, and claimed his reward. Though small and furry, Peter had tasted the vast world beyond the burrow and discovered that perseverance and a dash of caution could unlock wonders, if only one dared to try. Conclusion. As twilight settled over the hedgerow, young Peter Rabbit lay among his family, the day's adventure nipping at his whiskers like a distant echo. Though he had returned safe and sound, his thoughts drifted back to the hush of Mr. McGregor's garden, where rows of vegetables gleamed like hidden jewels, and every rustle held the promise of both danger and delight. In the soft glow of the burrow's lantern, he realized the true treasure was not the stolen carrot or the chunk of pumpkin, but the courage he had discovered within himself. Each narrow escape, every quick decision, and the fierce beat of his heart taught him that the world beyond one's comfort zone can be a place of learning, wonder, and growth. Peter's mother tucked him in, her gentle voice weaving a gentle reminder that curiosity, when paired with caution, leads to the sweetest of rewards. His siblings crowded close, eyes wide and eager for stories, as Peter recounted each moment with animated detail. He spoke of the cat's sly whisper, the gardener's thunderous steps, and the breathless dash through cabbage and clover. And though he admitted he might hesitate next time before sneaking back through the fence, his dreams that night carried the bright glint of adventure yet to come. For every rabbit, no matter how small, holds within a boundless spirit, ready to hop toward new horizons, guided by the steady beacon of perseverance and the gentle hand of wisdom.